Game Notes, brought to you by Canadian Tire. Let's get started.
Well, Edmonton's Alfred Payton joins me now, and these teams could very well meet in the Western Final. How important is it for your club to make a statement today?
Well, it's more important that we play a good, solid game. We've been turning the ball over lately, and we just want to come out and just play 60 minutes of football. And we can do that today. We'll be proud of the way we play. Now,
you lead the league in quarterback sacks, but you haven't registered one against Winnipeg.
No, this year I haven't, but looking forward to doing that today. It's going to be a great game today. It's good for the fans, and we're going to see what's going to happen. I just want to, and then before I just like to say hi back to my family back at home. I'd like to say hi to Courtney, Ashley, Albert, Shamira, Aaron, and Brie. Hey, Ben, love y'all.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
Now let's go back upstairs to Chris and Chris.
Thank you, Brenda. They tell us it was the coldest October on record here in Manitoba. Not a bad day to start November, however. There are the conditions, and not bad for a football game in early November at Winnipeg Stadium. There's Tom Higgins, whose team has won the West for the second consecutive year. And he talked about this being a polishing game for his team. Dave Ritchie said he played exhibition games down the stretch last year. He wasn't going to do it again. And he's taking this game seriously, trying to end on a high note going into the postseason.
Well, that's the big thing. I mean, he had some key players that didn't play the last part of last year. He had Wickman, who was injured. Milsteagel did not play the last two games. Kahari Jones did not play the last football game. He felt by sitting these people out that they were rusty going into the playoffs. He says, that will not happen again.
Troy Westwood has it on the tee. Fan Appreciation Day. Winston October back for Edmonton. He returned a punt 95 yards against the Bombers. In their other meeting of the year, it was a victory by the Eskimos. Bombers final tune-up before they take on the BC Lions next Sunday here at Canad Inns Stadium. And the Eskimos will await the winner of that in the Western Final. And we are underway, and it will be October. Across the 30, and Winston October driven out of bounds. Lucas Shaver on the stop after a 17-yard return. And we talked about the Eskimos quarterback situation. Each gets a half, and we were expecting Ricky Ray to get the first half, but now the Eskimos have switched, and it's going to be Jason Moss.
Well, this is what I thought they'd do, and the only reason they're probably doing this, Chris, is the fact that they're going to give the most experienced guy, longest tenure, that would be Jason Moss to start.
Jason Moss started last week. Ricky Ray in relief against Saskatchewan. And Moss in the flat. Ed Hervey with the catch.
Jason Moss doing a nice job just getting back there, trying to get the flow. That's the biggest thing. He started off okay. He's kind of gotten a funk after a couple series. And in the last couple games that Jason Moss has played, he's had the unceremoniously thing of just being pulled out of the game and replaced by Ricky Ray.
Ray was brilliant off the bench last week against Saskatchewan. Second down and 6 out of the backfield. Terry Vaughn up at the 50-yard line, and Vaughn will have a first down. That's catch number 92 on the year. Vaughn with a shot at his first 100-catch season.
Well, Terry Vaughn's always dangerous. You see Jason Moss, Ronald Williams, John Avery, double trouble in the backfield. Vaughn, Walters, Brazel, and a Hervey at the wide receiver, and a good offensive line. Under fire a little bit. Princeton, Comiskey, Groenwagen, Morrison, Bruce beaten at left tackle.
Jason Tucker not in the lineup, the wideout, resting a hamstring that's about 90%. He'll be ready for the West Final. And Moss got caught up with John Avery, tripped up, and a loss on the play for the leading rusher in the Canadian Football League.
Well, you hit it right in the head. They kind of got tangled up. And these guys, this is a good defensive line. Fortney, Brown in the middle, Weathers, K.D. Williams getting started, backside defensive end. The linebacking crew together all 18 games. McGriggs, Wickham, and Clark. And Europe, Lewis Nash, the inside, Coleman, and Ricky Bell with a second start at the quarterback position.
K.D. Williams opposite rush end. It's 2nd and 14. Tom Europe, safety blitz. Moss gets it away. Incomplete.
Well, Tom Europe, who had a big game the last time these two teams met with a sack, they're going to bring them. It's a safety blitz. They're just going to bring them in different aspects of where they bring. One time they bring them. This is just off the outside. That's all they're going to do. It's a timing thing. Get rid of the football or pay the penalty. And that time, Jason Moss gets rid of the football, but overthrows the intended receiver, and it falls incomplete.
So the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the opening drives defensively the entire season do not give up a touchdown. In fact, surrender only 4 points to their opponents on opening drives this year. Fleming's kick off the side of his foot, not deep. And Marvin Coleman will step out across the 30-yard line. We'll be ready for Winnipeg's first possession when we return to Canad Inns Stadium after this.
Well, Hockey Night in Canada kicks off another Saturday night with a Hall of Fame special. Then it's an all-Canadian matchup. The Leafs and Canadians in Toronto. Viewers in Ottawa and Windsor will see the Senators Red Wings game from the nation's capital. Then it's the Avalanche stopping off in Calgary. Let's go upstairs.
Big night tonight on Hockey Night in Canada. This the final regular season game for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Edmonton Eskimos. And look at the numbers for Kahari Jones, his first ever 5,000-yard plus season, and still some more work to do. Here's Charles Roberts at the left side, and Roberts with a first down carry stopped by Jack Kellogg. And there was some concern about Roberts' leg coming into this game and how much we'll see of the lightning slot back or running back of the Bombers.
Well, I think the biggest thing is this is a vastly improved offensive line the Bombers had. The last time these two teams met, Matt Sheridan went down with a back injury. Brett McNeil decided he could not play before the game started. They had to put in 2 alternates, and that really hurt him in that football game.
First down this time, Sellers the lone setback, and he has the ball. Mike Sellers, the former Eskimo, and you get an early indication of the power back. 260 pounds, and he's flexing early.
We saw him coming when he got introduced doing that wrestling thing. See, Kahari Jones, Mike Sellers right there. Charles Roberts, the scat back. They nicknamed him Quick or Blink, whatever one you want. Bruce Stiegel inside. Drover and Howell, the wide receivers. And as I said, an improved offensive line. And BC Elwanibi, Wilson, Mudge, and Garrick Jones at the left tackle.
So Kahari Jones trying to establish a ground game in the opening drive for the Bombers. 2nd and 3, play action, and a pass to Arlen Bruce, an early contact, and now a flag. It was late, but it was the right call.
Well, it was late, it was the right call. Sharon Garrett, little contact with the receiver. Arlen Bruce, before the ball was delivered, not allowing Arlen Bruce to come up with that catch. You see the referee back there thinking about it and then deciding, you know what?
Forward pass interference. Edmonton number 23. First down.
That's the matchup we're watching, or one of them. Arlen Bruce and Milt Stiegel inside, and there you can see contact before the ball arrived.
Well, he's all over him right there, and that's one of the things. You have to let the receiver have at least attempt to catch that football. Shannon Garrett not doing that on that play.
Bombers the highest scoring team in the CFL, number 2 in yards amassed. And again, Charles Roberts. Quick again. Charbonneau hanging on. Down to the 45. Pickup of 5 for Roberts.
Well, these defensive linemen have got their work cut out with the shifty running backs, the big power back. Reese Charbonneau, Kenny Alford, Peyton, the leading sack getter in the CFL. Powell, Mobley, and Terry Ray at the linebacking position. And the secondary, Kellogg, safety, Garrett Brady, Crutchfield, and Malcolm Frank at the cornerback.
Alfred Payton, the lineman of the week in the CFL last week, 5th time this season. He's been brilliant. Now Kahari Jones, 2nd and 5, dumps it off. Here's Bruce, and Arlen Bruce has another Bomber first down.
Well, you talked about the the fact that Stiegel is the main guy that Kahari looks. And that was one of the things that really works against Kahari Jones. Fantastic numbers, but he really, at the beginning of the year, always looked to Stiegel. If he's covered, take a look. I mean, he slips, gets up, he's wide open, that zone coverage, but it's all about the protection. That allows that pass to be caught because, as you see, Arlen Bruce is on the ground. He has time to still get up and make that catch. Good job by the offensive line. Giving Kahari the time.
Fresh set of downs at the 36. Jones play action. Now under pressure, and he's upended back at the 45.
Now we just talked about the fact that the offensive line, good protection on the previous play. This time, just a bull rush. Steve Charbonneau just going to keep pushing, keep working, driving his offensive blocker right back to the quarterback. As they go down, they take the legs out. See Kinney right there, and you see Charbonneau coming from the inside. Just rolls underneath the legs of Kahari Jones and picks up the sack.
9-yard loss. Charbonneau comes out. And an extra DB in for the Eskimos on 2nd and 19. Better protection. Jones open. Bruce down to the 5-yard line.
Now we talked about the fact that you cannot allow the receivers of the Bombers to run unjammed. They get a linebacker out there, Mobley. 27 has got to get a shot on Arlen Bruce. He doesn't. As a result, he gets in between the coverage. There's Mobley, 27. There's Crutchfield coming over, number 4. But they've got to get a jam on the receivers. You cannot let the speed of either Stiegel or Arlen Bruce run free down the football field, or you'll pay for it.
Those stats up to date, 24 away from a 1,000-yard season for Arlen Bruce. It's 1st and goal from the 6. And it will be Roberts following Sellers. Roberts, touchdown! And a statement opening drive for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
We talked about Winnipeg 4-game winning streak. They really, really are playing well right now. And the confidence level in that locker room is extremely sky high. They do a nice job of taking this ball and driving it all the way down the football field. But again, good blocking at the point of attack. I mean, left tackle Garrett Jones and Mike Sellers, 33. Wonderful jobs at the point of attack, allowing Charles Roberts to get to the outside and take it to the end zone.
Bob Cameron holds for Troy Westwood. The extra point is through. And the Blue Bombers, midway through the opening quarter, have taken the lead on an opening drive touchdown set up by Arlen Bruce. Charles Roberts with his 11th touchdown of the season, capping.
Well, I tell you what, Garrett Jones, right here. Here's a guy, he has to get this block, and then watch him after as we run this play. Garrett Jones at the point of attack seals. That is a nice job on the outside, and then Sellers right there, Freezer right there. There he gets his block, and that allows him to go into the end zone. That's a nice job of the fullback and the offensive tackle working together.
And off the kickoff, one of the up men taking it. Let's take a look at the scoring drive, and the big play, 2nd and 19, Arlen Bruce.
Well, Arlen Bruce down the field, we talked about this. I tell you what, if you're Edmonton, you're going to have to start jamming those receivers. You cannot let the fleet-footed Arlen Bruce or Milt Stiegel run free down the football field, or you'll pay for it, and then it'll end up just like that with Charles Roberts or Mike Sellers carrying into the end zone.
An 8-play, 79-yard drive. Roberts with 21 yards on the ground. He only had 10 in the first meeting against the Eskimos. John Avery across the 40. And Avery with 3 or 4. And there's Thunder and Lightning, Sellers and Roberts, the backfield for the Bombers.
Well, that's a great nickname for them. That's exactly what they are. The big man, the little man. They really complement each other in the backfield very well. And, of course, now you got the added dimension. With Sellers, he can do the damage when he carries the load.
Now Jason Moss and the Eskimos want to answer back, 2nd and 8. Blue Bombers coming on the rush, and the pass skipped into the turf, incomplete, but there is a flag on the play.
Well, Winnipeg is going to alternate. They've got 6 defensive linemen they'll play. David Benefield and Oki Breckerfield.
Edmonton number 62. Penalties decline. 3rd down.
front, but David Benefield just comes around and beats Bruce Beaton to the outside. Just gets outside. Bruce Beaton has no choice but try to get him. He's just at the top right there. And just as he's got him, he's trying to pull him down. He's got nothing to do right there. Cannot prevent David Benefield from getting to the quarterback.
Marvin Coleman, the lone man back for Winnipeg. And it will be Coleman from his 24. Up across the 30 to the 31 as we join Brendan.
Well, Chris, the CFL playoffs begin on CBC next weekend. First is the Eastern semifinal with the Rough Riders traveling to Southern Ontario to play either the Argos or the Ticats. Then it's off to Winnipeg for the Western semifinal. The Bombers will face the BC Lions.
And big man, how do you like that matchup? I think we're in for a great one next week right here.
Well, you know what I mean, all the BC fans are saying, hey, we beat you 2 out of 3, but I tell you what, right now, if you're looking at a team that's playing, firing on all cylinders, whoa, Winnipeg's a tough team to pick against.
An impressive opening drive for the Bombers without looking at Milt Stegall. And here is Roberts again out of the backfield. And he squirts across the 40 to the 43, and another first down.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, we talked about this in the opening, spreading the love around, spreading the ball around. It's exactly what Kahari Jones does. I mean, if you want to take away our inside receivers, we'll do the little dump passes. We'll do the little screen passes. All he's just going to do is going to slide. Charles Roberts goes up like he's going to block, slides out, gets the foot, and then it becomes open space. And I don't know if there's anybody more dangerous in open space than number 1, Charles Roberts.
Leading the Canadian Football League in all-purpose yards. Over 2,800 yards coming into the game. First down, they give it right back to Roberts. Apparently there's nothing wrong with his left leg. We were told there was a lot of concern, came out early last week.
Well, you know what? I think that he may be playing the old mind game. A little bit of psychology on the Eskimos if they're reading the newspaper saying, you know what, I don't know, my left leg doesn't feel 100%. Don't know how long I'll be able to stay in that lineup. Well, I'll tell you what, the way he's moving right now, you got to hope, if you're an Edmonton fan, that they are going to take him out of the lineup.
And maybe part of it is the way Mike Sellers is moving with the football. Roberts lets him keep carrying the ball. He might not see it again. Sellers has been the prime running back the past couple of weeks. Second down, and now Sellers, and he crashes ahead and still fighting. And look at that extra effort. You know what, Chris? I'm not sure he had the first down initially, but that extra work made sure the chains were going to move.
We have seen this time and time from number 33. When he gets going, he refuses to be brought down. The legs are always moving. He's always going forward. I mean, right there, you think he just keeps fighting. He keeps trying. Look, and what that does, you see Eric Wilson, 67, get a little fired up with Alfred Payton. That fires your team up. You love it when you got a running back like that.
Now the Eskimos, a good team against the run, number 3 in the league. Only one 100-yard rusher against Edmonton. Here's Jones looking for Stegall. First time jump ball incomplete. And Donnie Brady was draped all over Stegall.
Well, it's one-on-one coverage against Donnie Brady, as you say. As he comes down, it looks like Milt Stegall tries to come back into the football field. Brady originally keeps him to the outside, but the speed of Stegall allows him to get to the inside. Now he's got position, and I don't know, that's pretty touch and go right there. It almost looks like Donnie Brady, interfered with Milt Stegall's ability to come down with that catch.
Going to be an interesting afternoon for Brady up against Stegall. Milt with 104 catches, 23 touchdowns, 2nd and 10. Here comes the rush. Jones over the middle, and Arlen Bruce tried to make a one-handed catch. It falls incomplete.
Well, the only way you're going to take anything out of this Winnipeg offense right now is to put pressure on Kahari Jones. You cannot let him sit back there in the comfort zone because he will pick you apart. This time they bring some pressure. They bring it from the outside. It's just a max scrape. Middle linebacker scrape. Powell coming around to the outside, forces Kahari to throw the ball. Goes incomplete, forces Bob Cameron to come on and punt the ball away.
48-year-old Bob Cameron. And a terrific punt. Drives October back to his 12. And there's Harold Nash to bring him down. 44-yard punt by Cameron. And the Eskimos are backed up.
What do you like them on?
Your biggest fear in a game like this with nothing at stake in the standings and the playoffs around the corner, injuries, and KD Williams down with an apparent left knee injury.
Well, you see him just shaking. He's trying to work it out. He's just trying to work it out. And one of the things about turf is it's very unforgiving. And that means when the foot sticks, everything else stops. And as you see him coming around here, I mean, just freeze it right. You can see if you bring it back, if we get him to roll that back, you'll see an opportunity where the ankle, it actually looks like the ankle is what gives him the problem, but it's the knee that hyperextends. Just freeze it right there. Take a look at the ankle right there. You see a switch. This is what they're working on, is the knee. It just catches. When he catches it, the knee kind of pops out and they're trying to shake it out. But it's one of those things where turf, we talked about, when it gets caught on those turf shoes, the shoe's not going to slip, but the leg will.
Last year, with 2 games remaining in the regular season, and the Bombers home and cooled out in first, they lost Rylan Wickman, their middle linebacker, for the rest of the postseason.
And they were so excited about getting KD Williams for the fact that he gives them depth. They're giving him an opportunity to start today at backside defensive end. They think he brings a lot to the table, not only as a defensive lineman, but he can play linebacker. He's great on special teams. You definitely don't want to lose a guy of his caliber.
Managing to put a little weight on it, which is somewhat encouraging.
Well, I think it is, but as you see him, he's wincing right there. And I think the biggest thing right now is you're not going to take a chance. You just don't take a chance. They'll sit him out, they'll take a look at halftime, and they'll reevaluate that knee.
So the ball at the Edmonton 12. First down for Jason Moss. And that ball batted down, intended for Terry Vaughn.
Brian Clark get the big net up at the linebacking position. Talked about these linebackers, Wickman, Clark, McGriggs, playing together all 18 games. They start to have a little game within the game. They can play little games, allowing each other to cover for each other because they know each other so well.
Dave Ritchie over to get an update on KD Williams' status. 2nd and 10. Last week, Moss just 3 for 10 against Saskatchewan before he was pulled. There's a ball up for grabs and knocked down. A quick 2 and out for Moss and the green and gold.
Well, trying to force that ball into Ricky Walters. Harold Nash, 0-0. Great coverage. Staying right in the hip pocket and breaking. As soon as the ball is thrown, makes a break on the football. Trying to force it right in there over the linebacker. Wicklam. He gets the hand up and deflects it. The second linebacker in a row to knock a pass down. Play previous, it was linebacker Brian Clark. But good coverage. You're getting depth by the linebacker, but good coverage as well by Harold Nash.
Sean Fleming standing in his end zone to punt to Marvin Coleman. Awaits at midfield. And Coleman down to the Edmonton 46. 47 on the punt by Fleming. 8 on the return. Kahari Jones has engineered a touchdown march today. Not through the air, however. And there's where he stands. I didn't think the Doug Flutie mark would be challenged.
No, I think nobody did. 44, 46, 47. I mean, but he's had that. And you have to say it. Kahari Jones has had an outstanding year at quarterback. And you almost wish they could split that trophy up.
Roberts again. Pulled down by Terry Ray. But it's been a good first quarter for Point Roberts.
Well, you know, and it all goes back to the field general, and that's the field general. Kahari Jones, he's doing a masterful job of mixing the play selection up. Little run, little dump passes, little screens. Let's go deep, stretch the defense. They're doing it all right now.
You know what he said yesterday? The BC game, he tossed 55 passes, completed 39, and they lost. And he said that was perhaps a good message that they had to have a more balanced attack since they've won 4 straight. Here it's 2nd and 6, pressure on. And Jones gets out. He'll take off and gets nailed at the 39, short of the first down. Kahari was the leading rusher against Edmonton in their first meeting.
42 yards rushing and a touchdown the last time they played Edmonton. And
Shannon Garrett with the hit, and Winnipeg doesn't want their quarterback getting hit that often today.
And you can tell they have the newer helmets there. Harry Jones wearing the newer helmet. It is supposedly a better helmet to prevent concussions, especially when you're going to take head-on collisions like he just did that previous play.
So Troy Westwood is in, and he will attempt a 46-yarder. If good, it will be his 200th point of the season. And Troy comes up short. October, look out! Winston October all the way back to the 40-yard line. The wind doesn't appear to be that much of a factor.
He just got underneath the football a little short, and that's one of the biggest fears when you have a field goal team, because you usually have the big boys up front, the offensive lineman, defensive lineman combination, blocking for you, and then they have to go downfield, and they've got to make the tackle. And when you got a guy with the return abilities of Winston October, that could be a long day against you. You talked about it earlier, Chris, and Winston October already a 95-yard touchdown return on a punt the last time they met.
So the Eskimos up near their 40-yard line, trying to get untracked offensively. John Avery trying to get outside, and he does. And Avery has a first down as he's pushed out at the Eskimo bench. That's the final play of the opening quarter here at Canad Inns Stadium, and the Bombers with a 1-touchdown lead. Seven-0 Bombers with the lead as we get set for the second quarter. And we talked to Tom Higgins yesterday about his decision to split the quarterbacking duties today between Ray and Moss.
Each quarterback gets a half, and it's a half of football, which is a full game for them, and they know that they'll each prepare accordingly. And we're saying if the quarterback goes 19 for 19 and 4 touchdowns, we're not sending a mixed message to our football team. The other quarterback gets to go, and we hope that he can be as successful as the first one was.
Now, Chris, you say that's a pretty good plan for Game 18, but if it was a playoff game, it wouldn't be the plan.
You'd never see that happen as a playoff game. A guy's hot, you're going to keep him, but I tell you what, in retrospect as well, if a guy is not hot, you're going to get him yanked early.
So John Avery with a first down carry. A little bit of turmoil over on that Eskimo bench we'll get into in a moment, but right now Moss, shovel pass, Avery. Great play by Moss to get the ball away, and John Avery thunders to the Winnipeg 40.
Well, absolutely. Jason Moss does a nice job of holding onto the ball exactly the right length of time to allow Benefield, the defensive end, to come in. Once he commits to the quarterback, he pumps the ball out to Avery, and Avery does the rest. But it's all timing. The quarterback can't throw that ball too early or too late. He does it perfectly that time.
So the Eskimos with their most promising march. A couple of big plays by Avery, and now Moss with protection, looking downfield. Herbie has it inside the 5.
Well, Ricky Bell, they're getting a second start. They like him. They feel he's a very physical force in the quarterback position. One-on-one against the speedster Ed Herbie. Ed Herbie does a nice job of getting back inside to the middle of the football field. Good protection from the offensive line. But by getting inside, he gets position on Ricky Bell and comes up with the catch.
38 yards for Herbie. And it's first and goal for the Eskimos. Before he got back to the line of scrimmage. David Benefield in on the stop.
Well, Benefield, who was a starter for many years at BC and a starter early in this season with these Bombers, lost the job to Wayne Weathers, waiting to get back in there. K.D. Williams goes out. Benefield's making the most of this by coming around, having a whale of a first half.
Chris, there was an altercation at the Eskimo bench involving Ronald Williams, who normally would be in on this goal line offense, but he's not right now. And Avery drops the ball. It's loose, and the Bombers are on it. Wayne Weathers has the recovery. Weathers comes up with it. The Bombers and you wonder about what happened at the Eskimo bench and whether it cost them a touchdown. Third fumble recovery of the year for Canadian Wayne Weathers. And it snuffs an Eskimo scoring threat.
Well, it all starts from you freeze it right here. Now here's your linebacker or lineman blocking. That's Bacher, and he's got to block Brian Clark. He doesn't get the job done. He takes him on the shoulder. You got to take him face up between the numbers. That allows Clark to get off the tackle, make the play, and cause the fumble. As you say, Weathers comes up with the recovery.
And Milt Stegall comes up with a catch at the Winnipeg 35 to give the Bombers offense some breathing room.
It's just a seam pattern. We talked about this earlier. Same thing on the other side. Just going to come on. You got to get a better shot by your halfback, Donnie Brady. That's not going to interfere with any type of momentum downfield by Milt Stegall.
27 yards for Stegall. We're going to get to the Eskimo bench situation momentarily. But Kahari Jones calling signals on a 1st and 10. Roberts. Flag down. Kellogg with the tackle. Roberts with a pickup of close to 9 pending the call. And we'll get a chance to see what unfolded during the last Eskimo drive at their bench.
Holding, Winnipeg 68. First down repeated.
Dave Mudge, a holding call.
Well, Kelvin Kinney.
And there's Alfred Payton, and well, Dan Kepley was explaining something to a defensive player. Ronald Williams and Payton get into it. And the one thing Ronald Williams brought to the Eskimos last week was that closer, a guy that could take the ball from the 5 and put it in the end zone. He did it twice, and yet he wasn't on the field when they got inside the 5 there.
Well, you can talk all you want about this game having no meaning. Emotions are high, and especially on the same bench. And you got Alfred Payton and Ronald Williams. Now remember, one's on offense, one's on defense. Things are said. Either pick it up, get the job done. A lot of things happen between that. A lot of things are said in the heat of the moment. Obviously, you can see the cane of fisticuffs between Ronald Williams and Alfred Payton. And you wonder, Chris, we talked about that. We did not see Ronald Williams in the backfield when they got stuffed by John Avery when he fumbled the football. And normally he's that guy. He's the guy when you're in close. He got 2 touchdowns last week in close against Saskatchewan. Did not see him on that series.
2nd and 20. For the Blue Bombers. And Jones is going to air it out. Looking for Arlen Bruce. And he's got it. What a catch. In double coverage.
Well, getting between. Trying to dislodge him with the contact, but great concentration by Arlen Bruce. Here's a guy who had no catches the last time these two teams met. What a whale of a first half.
And it just put him well over 1,000 for the season. 54 yards on that catch. And now Jones over the middle. Stegall takes a lick from Jack Kellogg. And remember Milt Stegall last week. He got an even bigger hit from the safety of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Milt up and walking after this one. So let's take a look at what happened last week. And Milt looked like he was out for a brief time after Rob Hitchcock nearly took his head off, but Stegall wanted to make a statement that it didn't hurt.
Well, he also did that and came right back and scored a touchdown. I think sometimes, you want to let him sleep. Don't wake a big man like that up.
2nd and 10, look for Marcus Howell. Malcolm Frank in coverage. Fans looking for a penalty, but no marker on the play.
Well, if it does turn out, and we don't want to say it will, But if these two teams do meet in the West Final, you can see right now there's a lot of animosity being built up already for that game.
Might be something on the West Coast if you keep talking like that.
Well, I said, we're not predicting that. We're saying if. It might be if these two. That's a key word, if.
Yes, a lot of BC Lions ears just perked up. Cameron angling this punt. And look at the block. Cameron English. It doesn't get any better than that. Out at the 1. He could kick for another 5 years. Well, if Bob Cameron's pitching wedge was this good, he'd be on the senior tour. I mean, this could not have been hit any better.
A man with 394 games under his belt. And you know what? Winston October, you're told as a receiver, if it's inside the 10, let it bounce. Hopefully it goes into the end zone. You can see the point. Start off offensively on your own 35. He makes the decision to let the ball bounce. Bobby Cameron with a great bounce of his own out at the 1.
He's feeling pretty good yesterday. Said it was the first week all year that he'd been able to punt in practice and felt healthy. And there's Ed Hervey with a little breathing room for the Eskimos offense.
A little basically going after Ricky Bell. You can see Edmonton, slow starters, fast finishers. The games they won, and obviously all those games they've trailed.
Huge comeback last week against Saskatchewan. Otherwise, this was for first place today.
Well, I think they thought about that as well.
Ronald Williams back in the offensive set for Edmonton. There's that shovel toss, and John Avery works his way across the 20 and is close to another first down.
Well, one of the things you got to really credit the Bomber defense is they really know how to play. When you practice all week against Charles Roberts and he can make cuts just like John Avery here does, you get used to a guy. You see, look at Marvin Coleman keeping his feet. They got the nice balance. They're low. They're ready to make the tackle. They don't allow John Avery to get a seam.
Avery, the first Eskimo to win the rushing title, or will win the rushing title, since Reggie Taylor in '89, and only the second in 42 years as an Edmonton Eskimo. The only other rushing title winner that wore green and gold, Johnny Bright. And there's Ronald Williams. And we should talk a little bit about the internal squabbling, because I remember Don Matthews a few weeks ago almost complaining that his team hadn't been involved in enough fights.
Well,
and it's sometimes a good sign.
You your team up. You know what? There's some people, and unfortunately, it's the truth be said. There's some players who are just playing this game, and all they're thinking about is the West Final. But you got to get through this one first.
First down, Moss in trouble. Doug Brown got him. Stripped the ball. Who's got it? Bombers touchdown. Wayne Weathers, his second recovery of the day.
Another fumble by the Eskimo offense. We saw it cost them an opportunity to score a touchdown when John Avery fumbled the ball. Now we see Jason Moss getting the ball stripped by Doug Brown. And here's Wayne Weathers with his second fumble recovery of the day. This one for a touchdown. The 10th fumble, Chris, in the last 3 games for the Edmonton offense.
Westwood adds the extra point. Brown coming off his best game of the year last week, causing the touchdown. Wayne Weathers with his first Canadian Football League touchdown in his 5-year career, and really emerging on that defensive line for the Bombers.
Well, here's Doug Brown right there, and he's going to be working against both the center and the right guard of the Eskimo offensive line. Well, the horse gets the job done. He beats him, just keeps working, coming around, working. You got pressure from both sides. Oosterhuis also coming in there, and again, Wayne Weathers, recipient of the strip. The strip football falls in on the end zone with this, as you say, Chris, his first touchdown of his CFL career.
Westwood drills it to the 11, and there's October. The Eskimos need some positive positives here in this first half. Down by a pair of touchdowns, 2 fumble recoveries by Wayne Weathers, and now tempers flaring and a flag on the field.
Well, maybe I think tempers should start flaring on that Edmonton side. They're playing very shaky.
Major foul, face mask, Edmonton number 8. First down.
Chris Hardy called for the face mask. And that will drop the Eskimos back further. Wayne Weathers snuffed an Eskimo drive with a fumble recovery. Remember this. He's been in the right place at the right time.
Well, that's what we talked about earlier. There's no eye on this team defense. They all create opportunities. We saw Brian Clark with the first fumble, forced fumble, and we saw Doug Brown the second, and both recovered by Wayne Weathers.
There's John Avery. Runs it out at the 24. The Eskimos now have committed 29 fumbles on the season. That is a league high. Avery with 3 fumbles last week, and it was a focal point of practice this week, although it's hard to blame Jason Moss when you got Doug Brown bearing down and stripping the football.
Well, that's just a good play by defensive lineman, but Avery letting go of the ball, as you say, 3 times last week, 1 already today. They worked on tackling drills where he has to run through a gamut of defensive linemen who are trying to pull the ball out. He thought he had corrected the problem. Obviously not.
5 for Avery that time. 2nd and 5. Short drop. Fade pattern. Brazel looked like he had it momentarily, and then knocked away by Ricky Bell, who the Bombers feel might be the final piece of the puzzle on defense.
Well, they like Ricky Bell. We talked about the fact that he's a physical player. He likes to jam the receivers. He's not going to give you anything easy. They've gone after Ricky Bell a little bit, though, today. Brazel's going to try and work back in, to come back into the football field. He actually has the ball in his hands and just drops it at the end.
And that's a ball that should have been caught.
Jason Moss's reaction, not very happy about that. You got to help out. Quarterback's doing all he can to get the ball to you. You got to come up with the catches.
Moss with less than 6.5 minutes in his half of football to make a final impression before the Western Final. Marvin Coleman letting it bounce around, and he'll get the 5-yard no yards. Sheldon Benoit was encroaching as we join Brenda.
Well, coming up at the half, Chris Walby will have another installment of his weekly pro tips, and also at the half we'll sit down with Winnipeg's Doug Brown, last year's most outstanding Canadian in the CFL, and having a heck of a game today.
And Brenda, the top Canadian once again on this Blue Bomber team, and this week extended his contract with Winnipeg, and he is certainly one of the preeminent Canadians in the league.
He kind of did an interesting contract in that they're going to kind of let him go at the end of the year. He still wants to try out south of the border. He says he's got 3 games to get his pension. He wants to try, but he says, you know what, if it doesn't work out, I'm definitely coming back, and you can put this contract in your drawer, and we'll agree to it if I come back.
Take the reverse to Bruce, and Roberts short gain up the middle in the clutches of Kelvin Kinney.
Well, Charles Robert getting to carry the ball a lot today, and I think that's, you got to start getting all your star players, you know, and I hate to steal a phrase from Coach Higgins over on Edmonton sideline. He said he wanted to do some polishing today. Well, I think that's what Winnipeg's doing right now by getting all their big-time players some action.
It has been a showcase so far, the talents of Robert, Sellers, Stiegel, and Bruce, along with Kahari Jones, the master, but this out of the hands of Bruce and into the hands of Shannon Garrett, and the former Winnipeg Blue Bomber has his 4th interception of the year.
Well, that's a nice job of Kahari Jones getting away from the pressure, rolling out to the wide side. Nice throw. Throws a dart right to Arlen Bruce. Comes up, and as he tries to pull it up, the ball comes out of his hands. Shannon Garrett with tight coverage comes up with a relatively easy interception, but you got to give him concentration right there. Good marks on concentration, bringing that ball in, looking it into his hands.
Eskimos needed something positive like that to happen. Shannon Garrett, perhaps, can get things kick-started for the green and gold. Down by a pair of touchdowns and outplayed in this first half. Here's John Avery. And Avery powers knows his way up to midfield with good second effort.
Well, the Bombers are definitely a tough team to run against. Number 1, averaging 79 yards against defensively. Last week, held a good running back in Troy Davis, 40 yards in Hamilton.
And Brenda has more on the Eskimo running back.
Well, Edmonton's John Avery is one player sure won't be complaining about the heaters being brought out today. He played his first cold weather game last week in Edmonton, fumbled 3 times, said he couldn't even feel his fingers by the end of the day, and I spoke with him yesterday. He said he'd be smarter during this game. He'll use the heaters a lot more, but I don't know if they're helping too much, guys.
Well, a guy who played his college ball at Mississippi and then in Miami, and it is an adjustment for some.
Well, you know what? He's going to have to play the West Final in his hometown, and it's cold there. You know what? The heaters. You talk about heaters. A lot of the guys that put their hands up, but you know what? They get warm, and then you go back in the cold. It really doesn't help. And what it does so much, it's almost like it starts to numb your hands because you're going warm, cold, and I think you got to get him used to just staying cold and play the game.
It's not even cold, is it?
That's not. This is sunny. I'm surprised we don't see more people with shorts in the game today.
2nd and 3, and it's Avery again, left side, first down.
Nice job off tackle, picking up a first down by John Avery. I really think you got to start giving him the football more. Take a look at this season, the most rushing yards. John Avery obviously will win the rushing title, 14-22 and counting.
The outstanding player on the Edmonton Eskimos this year.
Well, he really.
And remember, those totals remarkable when you consider he was not the #1 running back for the first 5 games of the season.
I think that is the key statistic. You look at that and you say, wow. He has done that in 13 games.
4 straight 150-yard plus rushing games in the midst of the season. Here's Moss, and he guns another completion to Ed Hervey into Bomber territory. Under 3.5 minutes remaining in Jason Moss's half of football here in Winnipeg.
Just one-on-one again. Ricky Bell just going to play a little bit, but that's a nice job of driving the receiver off, getting him to turn, and then coming back to the football by Ed Hervey.
Hervey 4 catches, 58 yards, but just 1 touchdown in the last 7 weeks. And he's one of those home run hitters for Edmonton. 2nd and 5, and Moss looked one way and finds Brazel on the near side, and now Jason Moss has the Eskimo offense moving. 3-minute warning being given to the benches as we approach halftime in Winnipeg.
Well, welcome back to Winnipeg. KD Williams, as you can see in his civvies, he won't be coming back into this game today. He left the Bombers bench about 15 minutes ago, headed to the locker room, limping and definitely in some pain. The doctors say he twisted his knee. It's unclear, though, the severity of that injury.
Tough break, and it means that David Benefield gets more work. Here's Jason Moss looking for Hervey and pushed out of bounds by Ricky Bell. No penalty marker on the play.
Well, you talked about the physical play of Ricky Bell, and that's one of the things they wanted, as you say, maybe the missing piece of that puzzle on that defense. Nice job of just keeping the receiver to the outside until he runs out of real estate. Just one-on-one coverage. They've been going after Ricky Bell a lot today, but it's just one-on-one, just going down there. Looks almost like he forced him out of bounds, and Ed Hervey looking for the flag.
By the time the contact was made, I think Hervey was almost out of play anyway.
The thing that bothers me about that play is that Ricky Bell is not playing the football. His back is to the quarterback. If his head was turned toward the football, I could say, you know what, you get away with that. But the fact that he's looking at the receiver all the way and does not look up to find the football. So we take a look. He's not looking for the football until the end. Well,
Winnipeg 97.
And I think that is what might have saved him. Just that last head look. Doug Brown with the penalty on that previous play.
Offside against the former Port Moody Blue. Now with the big blue, and it'll be 2nd and 5 for Moss and company. cut into this Winnipeg lead. And another quick hitter to Hervey, who's been the favorite receiver. Dave Donaldson with a takedown. Hervey with the reversal. And again, things heating up.
Well, we talked about this. There's no love lost right now. They know there's an opportunity that they might meet each other in the Western Final. Talked about it earlier. A lot of extracurricular activity going on. A lot of pushing and shoving after the whistle. And Hervey just going to come back. He's just fighting for yards. He didn't like the way he was taken down.
And Donaldson's tackle prevented Hervey from getting to the first down stick. And now we're third and a yard to go at the 24-yard line. And the give to Williams, and the second effort gets the first down. It looked like Williams had been stopped short.
Anoki Brechterfield, 19, just submarines and beats the offensive block. Bottom of your screen, just going to fire in there. That's a nice job of getting the helmet on him right there. But as you say, Ronald Williams keeps the legs churning. He'll bring out the sticks to measure to see if he churned enough to churn out a first down.
Remember, there was an altercation at the Eskimo bench in the first quarter. And Williams was left on the bench when the Eskimos got inside the 5. This is close. And they just got it.
Second effort. You talk about all that stuff. You talk about all that extracurricular activity on your own bench, the fighting, the pushing, Alfred Payton, Ronald Williams getting into it. You know what? You got to have that. It's healthy to have those squabbles.
Well, maybe not during the game.
You know what? We used to have it at halftime where there'd be scraps in the locker room. Guys would say something and fire them up. Part of football.
First down. There's Moss rolling right. Brechterfield was there, and Moss has to throw it away. Good pressure by Anoki Brechterfield.
Well, they really like Anoki Brechterfield. He feels he's in a great situation having 6 defensive linemen he can put in at any time, and all of them can get the job done. But Brechterfield it uses a lot of speed. Gets up there, forces it, throws it out. Nice decision, not trying to force the situation into a receiver. Brazel was open, or thought he was open at the end of the end zone. But the pressure forced Jason Moss not to find him.
Under 2 minutes remaining, first half, 2nd and 10. At the Winnipeg 22, out of the shotgun. Moss looking deep, looking for Terry Vaughn. It's picked off. An easy pick for Marvin Coleman. His 5th of the year, number 5, matches the number on his jersey for interceptions on the year.
Well, this is a situation where either Terry Vaughn or Jason Moss had a different opinion where the receiver or the quarterback should throw the football. It is nowhere near Terry Vaughn. Terry Vaughn just kind of folds over there, but that looked like it was intended for Marvin Coleman, the quarterback of the Blue Bombers. And once again, the Eskimos in scoring territory have squandered a chance.
3rd turnover of the game. Les Brown likes what he sees from his defense. Jones to Stiegel. Held up at the 32nd catch of the game. Down to the 32 and took some punishment.
Well, he took some punishment, but it's a nice job at just letting Stiegel drag across the middle, find the opening. Front of the linebackers are dropping. Get on the ball quickly, get some real estate, pick up 8 yards on first down. Put you in a second and short situation.
Nope, going to the bench after taking this hit. Sandwich between Kelvin Powell and Alfred Payton. 2 for 34 for Stiegel on the day. 2nd and short. They're going long, and Bruce drops the ball. He had a chance for another big play, as it looked like he had a step on Shannon Garrett.
Well, he definitely had a step on Shannon Garrett, and you really got to like the way that Kahari Jones is throwing this football. This is dropped in beautifully, right into the bucket, right into the hands of Arlen Bruce III. He's got to come up with the catch. We talked about him getting behind the coverage of the Eskimos secondary. He's done it a couple of times. One time, he couldn't come up with the catch. Shannon Garrett came up with the interception. This time, Arlen Bruce just can't come up with the catch.
Stiegel getting some attention. And Bob Cameron scooping up the low snap and putting it away for the Bombers. Cameron got hit, and there's a contacting the punter penalty on the play. Quincy Coleman, I believe, drew the flag.
Contacting the kicker. Edmonton 25.
Quincy Coleman, the culprit, as he contacted the kicker.
Well, just a scenario of picking it up, but just as he comes down, just basically slides into the end. I got to know. I'll tell you what.
We saw the wedge earlier,
You know
now
what?
on a little acting job.
Well, I mean, listen, Bob Cameron's played 394 games. He's 40, what's he, almost 50 years old. That's probably how he gets out of bed in the morning. Can't throw a flag like that. He just rolls over.
The old master playing in game 394. And that routine's worked a few times in his career, I'm sure. Roberts. Oh, that's why they call him Lightning. Wow.
Well, he's got two gears, fast and faster. Does a nice job. It's just going to be an off-tackle play to the right behind Big Dave Mudge and Eric Wilson. Abisi's going to pull around. That is a nice job of the center 51, getting on the middle linebacker, Kevin Powell. And then that man, number 1, does the rest by turning it up a notch, accelerating a little more, and picking up a first down.
You know, maybe for halftime festivities, we just line Roberts and Avery up and have a sprint.
I'd pay to see that.
That'd be fun. First down. Roberts again. Alfred Payton got a piece of him. Low bridge, and Roberts brought down as he crossed the Edmonton 50.
Well, I thought it was really interesting talking to Alfred Payton. He said, you know what, last week we were playing Saskatchewan. Their game plan, he said, was to run at me. I responded with 6 tackles and a sack. I won Defensive Player of the Week. This week, he's going against a different line right now. He's going against, I think, one of the better offensive lines right now. An offensive line that had a lot of trouble earlier in the year and have really rounded out into solid form.
I don't remember Alfred ever being better against the run than he was last week against Saskatchewan. Here's a screen. Sellers, a lot of room to rumble. And then Sellers is eased out by Senior Mobley.
Well, Sellers, this is exactly what you want to do. You know what? You forget about number 33. He's just being the lead block for Charles Robertson every once in a while. You say, you know what? Let's give you the ball. A little screen pass to the outside, and then it becomes, oh, God, do I got to tackle him? Crutchfield's saying, oh, boy, I better go down low on him. You know what? Sellers just kind of tosses him away. Says, yeah, I'm out of bounds right now. No damage done.
I mean, Mobley's one of the best linebackers in the league, and Sellers just lets him roll off.
He basically swatted him.
There's that reverse to Bruce. He'll have to cut it back, and we'll lose a couple on the play.
A play from the last, they pulled that out the last time they played. Arlen Bruce scored in that little reverse touchdown this time. Nice job, Mobley staying outside, forcing him back inside. The rest of his teammates can come over and make the play. Limited to about a 2-yard gain.
And Kahari Jones has called the timeout. 24 seconds left on the clock. And Milt Stiegel still on the Bomber bench, feeling the effects of the hit on his last reception.
You know, the way he walked off, Chris, I almost thought he got hit in the hip. He was kind of wincing there, and you can see him right now, wincing a little bit right now. And the worst thing about playing in cold weather is you tighten up.
And the Bombers have looked terrific today, but they've lost K.D. Williams. Now Stiegel has sat down. Mo El-Wanibi was shaken up. Here's 2nd and 12. Kahari Jones end zone, and through the hands
says, you know what, if I don't have my main man, Milt Stegall, I'm going to go downtown to Arlen Bruce, and he does it again. But for the third time in a row, this ball is thrown exactly where it's got to be. Arlen Bruce just does not come up with the catch. But Harry Jones says, no, you got to be kidding me.
That had touchdown number 47 written all over it.
You know what? He's thrown a lot of great deep balls today. Arlen Bruce made a couple circus catches early, but the last three that should have been caught weren't.
So they'll try a 38-7-yard field goal, and Troy Westwood makes no mistake. 16 seconds left, first half, and the Bombers expand their lead to 17. Jones checking with Stegall, who doesn't look very positive. Turnovers have been a factor in this first half.
Well, it all started Brian Clark jarring the ball loose from John Avery. Wayne Weathers with his first fumble recovery, and then Dougie Brown, the big man, strips the football from Jason Moss, and Wayne Weathers with his first ever CFL touchdown. And then the new passing combination for the Eskimos, Jason Moss to Marvin Coleman.
Yeah, Weathers a little slow to get up. 55-yard drive, 9 plays. The Westwood field goal. And Jason Moss has 16 seconds left in his day.
Well, you know, he's done a pretty good job of throwing the football. He stretched the defense, stayed short with some, good accuracy routes. But he's had some situations. I mean, obviously having the ball jarred loose by Doug Brown causing a fumble. Then he gets a nice strike down to Ed Hervey, and John Avery fumbles. So, you know what? They should have a lot more points, or they should have some points on the board right now. Right now, they're just having the big old goose egg.
And the Eskimos trying to run the clock out. And Tom Higgins and his team will have to regroup and see if they can do more with Ricky Ray at the helm in the second half. But let's go back to Winnipeg's defense, Chris. I wanted to mention they came within 3 minutes of pitching a shutout in Hamilton last week. Would have been the first shutout in 50 years on home turf against the Tiger Cats, and they just threw a shutout the first half against Edmonton.
Well, as you said, he played very good last week. One play, a 65-yarder to Griggs was the only one that broke that.
Let's join Brenda.
Well, Dave Ritchie, some people were calling this a nothing game. It doesn't look like your team bought into that.
No, they haven't so far. We played 30 minutes. No football game you play is a nothing game.
What would you like to see your team improve on in the second half?
Just come out and continue to do what they're doing. They're walking away from all the crap, and the other thing they're doing is they're playing football.
Good luck in the second half.
Okay, thank you.
Well, at the half, it is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers leading the Edmonton Eskimos 17-0. Our halftime show is up next when the CFL on CBC continues.
Harder to rectify, but there's no question about it. You can't turn the ball over and expect to win many football games, and that's the reason there's a goose egg on the board.
How do you beat the Winnipeg defense today?
Well, first, don't beat yourself, and you got to hang on to the football. We got to move it. We are moving it, but when you get close, you got to score some points.
Good luck in the second half.
Thank you.
Let's go back upstairs.
Ricky Ray will get the second half. He was brilliant coming off the bench last week. The Eskimos trailed Saskatchewan 18-0, but Ray engineered the come-from-behind victory that clinched the second straight West Division title for the Green and Gold.
Boy, he was 15-16. Pretty impressive numbers to.
And the other ball was picked off. He didn't throw one that hit the turf throughout that game. Bombers will get the ball first in the second half. Arlen Bruce breaks through the surge, and the lightning-quick receiver tripped up on his own there. Play stopped as Mobley finishes him off. And Kahari Jones did not throw a touchdown pass in that first half.
Well, you take a look at it. I mean, obviously the incompletes. And I'll tell you one thing. He's 7 for 50 for 165 yards. And I know for a fact that Arlen Bruce dropped 3. And I guarantee you that stat right there, he could be well over 250 yards and guaranteed 10 of 15 easily.
He was razor sharp. And the stats really not indicative of that in the first half. Roberts left side. How'd he change direction? He got to the 50 and then backpedaled around. Or Robertsian spinorama for another yard or 2.
Well, nice. We talked about what we had to do. Double trouble. Avery, 55 total yards. He's got a fumble. Williams only 4 yards and wasn't in that goal line stand. For defense, Mike Sellers, 33 total yards, but what he's done without the football has been very impressive, Chris. His lead blocking for Charles Roberts.
Chris, just noticing that Milt Stegall is not in the offensive set or on the bench for the Bombers. Jamie Stoddard instead. There's Mike Sellers. He's stripped of the ball. Who's got it? Rolling to the sidelines. Flags flying. And we'll see what the call is. Looks like the Bombers last to touch the football.
Well, definitely want to see who touched the ball last. Sometimes when the defender forces the ball out, he is the last one to touch the football. There were a number of flags thrown as well. We have to see what that's about.
So Stegall appears to be out of the game for the Bombers. So 2 prime veterans for Winnipeg will not finish the day in all likelihood.
Well, 2 leaders, and one of the things about Milt Stegall is, you know what, you see what he does. He doesn't talk a lot about himself. One of the most humble men you'll ever meet in your life. Yet behind that locker door, he is very, very vocal and really goes after the team concept, does whatever it is. He's the kind of guy that'll walk up to a big offensive lineman and kick him in the backside if he thinks that offensive lineman needs to be kicked.
Dave Ewell sorting things out. Looks like Winnipeg will retain
illegal interference
possession.
on a loose ball. Edmonton number 4, first down.
Crutchfield got called for interference in that scramble for the loose ball.
Well, they're coming back just to the screen pass. Dump it off to Sellers. Let him get the outside. Terry Ray does a nice job of stripping the football. He comes out, and you can see that Crutchfield comes back and clips
Jeff Drover.
It's a good call by the official. Drover's trying to recover the football. Crutchfield's not playing the football. He just wants to prevent Drover from coming up with it.
Ball placed at the Winnipeg 53. First down. Sellers the lone setback. And he will be the ball carrier. And this time, not much doing. In fact, Edmonton thought they came up with the ball again. Kelvin Powell and Randy Chevrier were in on the stop as we join Brenda.
Well, Chris, the latest on Milt Stegall is that he won't be returning to today's game. He stayed in the locker room at the half. Now, the medical staff insists he just had the wind knocked out of him. He looked in a little bit more pain than that, though, as I watched him on the sidelines before the end of the first half. But the word is he won't be coming back today, and they say they're doing this as a precaution.
Second and long. Jones in trouble. Unloads, incomplete, but avoids the sack.
Why would they tell us that? Did they not think we could keep a secret?
It's the BC Lions, Chris, are taking notes as we speak.
Well, Dave Ritchie, obviously, as you say, concerned. Katie Williams out, Milt Stegall in the locker room. I think it's a great call. Don't bring Milt out. We all know what Milt can do. I mean, and you see Kahari Jones today. His main attempt, the guy he's been throwing the ball to, has been Arlen Bruce. He's been the main guy. There's Katie Williams.
Bob Cameron on third down. October. Winston October across the 40-yard line, so good field position for the first Ricky Ray offensive possession of the afternoon. Well, the man I think will start the Western Final gets to start the second half at quarterback for the Eskimos.
Well, I think I've got to agree with you on that. No, just the numbers he's put up. Remember, Ricky Ray is the guy that the first time these two teams met came off the bench to lead these Eskimos to the victory. So, I mean, they say some quarterbacks are better off the bench. I think they're both suited to come off the bench. But I think you got a great 1-2 punch.
He led the comeback last week, and there's a completion up to Terry Vaughn in Winnipeg territory. And go back to the middle of August when the Eskimos beat Winnipeg, and in that game, Ricky Ray came off the bench.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is you watched Jason Moss last week against Saskatchewan and the troubles they were having to generate any offense. Nothing against Jason Moss, but then it just seemed like the whole team kind of picked up. And I don't know if it's just the play selection by Ricky Ray in there, but it seemed like they just, you know, almost a practice game the way he moved the ball against the Saskatchewan defense.
Terry Vaughn can't make the catch. Are they ruling that a lateral? It's picked up. Milo Lewis has it, and the Bombers have the ball. And I'd like to see that again. Ray feels it was a forward pass.
Well, that's the big key. The ball has to cross the line of scrimmage. If it stays behind the line of scrimmage on that throw, it is a free ball. It's a live ball, and anybody can pick it up. He throws it back. Now, does it cross that line of scrimmage? That's a live ball. That's a live ball. It's a good call. Milo Davis with it. Doesn't cross the line. Can't get the handle. Milo Davis, the first-year player out of Alabama.
Yeah, wait a minute. Now it's been overruled, and the right call, I think, is going to be made. I thought that was a... I don't think it was a pass back. And
well, it's behind the line of scrimmage. You can see the line of scrimmage right there.
But it's still it's still forward.
It's a forward throw.
He was at the 54. I think the ball was caught at the 54 or touched at the 54. Ray took a swat at the face mask, keeps going. Now the pressure on. He took a hit. Marvin Coleman dropped the ball, and Terry Vaughn saves the interception. And now Ricky Ray down. Helmet knocked loose. And Coleman is in some difficulty.
And Chris, I have to reiterate, you're right on that call, because the more I think about it, it's the fact that it's where he's throwing the football. If the ball is going back, it's where he's throwing it. And that line of plane, therefore the ball was past that plane, didn't cross the plane where the quarterback was. Therefore the ball is not live. So it was a good call.
And Ricky Ray and Marvin Coleman feeling the effects of that last play. And that's a great defensive play by Terry Vaughn.
Well, Terry Vaughn, if you can't catch a football, the biggest thing you're taught is don't let the defender come up with the football. Don't create a turnover. Eliminate it, and he does a nice job of knocking the ball out of Marvin Coleman's hands.
Flag down is Fleming with a short punt that goes out before it reached the Winnipeg 30-yard line. Somebody looked offside on the play. Just a 19-yard punt. Procedure call against the Eskimos likely to be declined.
Well, they're just going to call the Bomber captains together, make a decision on that procedure call. Doug Hockey, one of the captains.
Illegal procedure, illegal formation. Edmonton, first down. Penalties declined.
Ricky Ray gets away with one right there. Dave Donaldson with a little bit of the face mask grab. Flag doesn't go down. Gets to the outside. Then Wayne Weathers, number 99, and Okie Breckerfield basically crunching him. And Terry Vaughn doing a great job as defender, eliminating that interception by Marvin Coleman, dislodging the ball from him.
Would have been Coleman's second of the game. Charles Roberts. He gets up to the 35.
Nice job of Roberts. You take a look at the game notes. Keep spreading the love. Keep spreading the ball around. 4 receivers have caught passes. You guys have also carried the ball. Defense number 1. No I in team. Edmonton only 29 rushing yards. But they've done a great job in the defensive secondary as well.
Four yards for Roberts. Ball at the 35. 2nd and 6. Sellers, look at that straight arm. Ran through another tackle up to the 38-yard line.
Randy Chevrier got a little bit of a spin move from the big guy, expecting him to try and run him over. Instead, little quick foot, little dance move by the big man Sellers, turning around, spinning out of the grasp of 66, getting to the outside, trying to break the tackle of Terry Ray.
Ray did a good job of hanging on, preventing a Sellers first down, and Cameron has to punt. October awaits. And it's October at his 32. Cornered and pushed out by Wade Miller. Dave Donaldson there, and they celebrate the good coverage on the return by October.
Well, Hockey Night in Canada kicks off another Saturday night with a Hall of Fame special. All-Canadian matchup follows with the Leafs and Canadians. Viewers in Ottawa and Windsor can see the Senators Red Wings game, and then the Avalanche stop off in Calgary to play the Flames. Chris?
And here it's a 17-0 Winnipeg lead. The Bombers try to become the third team in the CFL this year to post an 8-1 home record to join Edmonton and Montreal. Ricky Ray to John Avery. Flag flying, and Avery stopped way back. Anoki Brechnerfield. And a holding call. Likely against Eskimos on the play.
I think it's going to be Bruce Beaton working against Wayne Weathers, who's had quite an afternoon. I believe it'll be a holding penalty.
Holding. Edmonton number 62. Penalties decline.
Yep.
Second down.
Well, Bruce Beaton right at the top up there, just going to get a hold. Swings him, grabs him right by the back of the collar. Flings him to the ground, and again, great pressure, penetration by Anoki Brechnerfield, the backside end. They just have great team speed, and they fly to the football.
Loss of 5. Second and 15. Ray has a completion, and Ed Hervey comes down with his 6th catch of the day. And let's see where the spot is. It looks like he's going to be a half-yard short of the first down.
Well, Ed Hervey, the one positive on this Eskimo offense, again, going back to him, working against Ricky Bell, does a nice job of driving the defender, the cornerback back, and coming back to the football.
So it will be third down, and the Eskimos are going for it. They were successful once in the first half, but it was a close one. And now Ray follows the Wallowing Hogs for the first down. When I first heard Tom Higgins say that, I thought it was a new country band that you were in. Chris Walby and the Wallowing Hogs.
Oh, I like
it's got
that
a
name.
ring to it.
I think it's a smart call, though, by Ricky Ray. I mean, obviously, the less exchanges you have with the football, the safer you are. The quarterback is the closest to the line of scrimmage. You've got less than a yard. Why risk handing it off to a deep back? Just take it, duck behind your big offensive lineman, or the Wallowing Hogs, as you call them, and pick up the first down.
You can see how efficient Ricky Ray has been this year, and now dumps it off. Ronald Williams tripped up before he could get going. A fine defensive play by the middle linebacker, Rylan Wickman.
Ronald Wickman does a nice job, as you say, just grabbing the back of the ankle. A shoestring tackle, bringing him down. And had he not done that, Ronald Williams might have picked up some speed. Done some further damage. Just coming on a middle linebacker blitz. Picks him up now follows him. That's a great job of 55 to stay with the man, knowing he's got to take him as he releases.
Limited the gain to 1. Wickman out. An extra DB in. Blitz is on. Ray escapes, and he's got a first down. Ricky Ray with a lot more. Down at the 30-yard line, he wanted to hook slide at about the 50 and said, wait a minute, I've got more room to go.
Well, I think he hit on the head. I think Ricky Ray was going to hook slide a number of times, and it seemed like everybody around him kind of stopped for a second. He said, fooled you, and he kept on going with it. But nice job of just little play action pump, and I like that, just to freeze the defenders for the last second before he takes off with the football. That allows him to get some room to run through, and eventually he's taken down by Ricky Bell, but not before picks up a huge first down.
And, you know, I think that's one edge that you might have given Jason Moss over Ray running the football, but Ricky Ray making a case for his ability to scramble. Eskimos marching, Ray looking deep, looking for Herbie, and it's picked off. Ricky Bell, another turnover for the Eskimos.
Well, Ricky Ray going to the guy he likes to go to most often, and that would be expecting that ball to go a little deeper. He's got to slow down. Now he has to come back and try and stop Ricky Bell from coming up with the interception. He can't do it. Nice job of defensive coming up with the interception by Ricky Bell.
The 6th corner on the weak side for the Bombers this year, and I think Bell is the answer. He was in the Grey Cup with the Calgary Stampeders last year. Here's Jeff Drover, the St. John's, Newfoundland and University of Calgary product with a catch.
Well, I think one of the things you do when you look at Ricky Bell, whenever you get a guy that plays quarterback, you got to get a guy that's got a little bit of arrogance, a little bit of cockiness to him, because he's on an island out there. It's one-on-one all day, and you got to cover guys like Ed Hervey. You know, it makes it a tough job. But if you got a little swagger in your walk, and you play physical, and you can back it up with coming up with key interceptions and kill drives, boy, you got a good future.
2 former Stampeders on the corners for Winnipeg. 2nd and 6. Jones looking down the sidelines, trying to hook up with Marcus Howell, incomplete.
Well, they go after Malcolm Frank, which they don't do very often. Number 10 of the Eskimos having an outstanding season at the cornerback position. Don't really go after him, and this is why. Good coverage all the way, staying step for step for Marcus Howell.
So a pair of 2-and-outs in a row for the Bombers here in the second half. And Ray will get a chance to get right back to work. 4.5 minutes remaining, 3rd quarter. Good Cameron punt. October. Up to the 48. There is the penalty marker on the play. Cameron, 47 yards on that punt. His average this year, 41.2. It's been better than that today.
He's really got a hold of some of them. He's had a good bounce where the ball bounced out on the 1-yard line early in the 1st quarter. I believe there'll be a holding penalty against the punt team of the Bombers, but looks like the Eskimos will decline.
Winnipeg 55. Penalties decline. 1st down.
Timeout on the field. Still 17-0 Bombers in the 3rd quarter. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers looking for their 5th consecutive victory with a 17-point lead on a crisp day at Canad Inns Stadium. 28,730, just shy of capacity. But another big year in that department here. These fans really great supporters of this football team that are making Grey Cup noises once again. An incompletion intended for Ed Hervey.
Well, just another example of the Edmonton offense just losing or looking ahead where he wants to go with the football before he actually catches it. Take a look at the inside. You see him running a little stunt, little games in there. Doug Brown, Denny Fortney, a little twist on the offensive line, a little confusion.
So 2nd and 10, and Ray out of the shotgun. 5 receivers out. Look out, here comes Benefield, and Benefield ran over Ricky Ray. The pass caught, but out of bounds. And I'm surprised
I'll tell you what,
got away with
Benefield looked up and he was looking for the flag. There was no doubt in my mind he thought the flag was going to be thrown. He didn't celebrate. He looked at the referee, the line judge back there, and said, "No flag? Hey, all right, I did a good thing." Good job of running a twist right there. Doug Brown again, Denny Fortney, but I mean, the ball is gone. That definitely, you see him coming from the top. The ball's gone, and that's a hit, and that's a flag.
And the Eskimos have reason to be upset with that. Charles Roberts awaits the punt. And on 2 hops, he'll try and scamper outside. And nearly sprang that. Boy, that was eventful.
Watching the Canadian Football League. Brought to you by America One.
First down, Winnipeg at the 28, and thundering through the hole, Mike Sellers. Mobley hanging on, but you can't drag him down by the sweater, and he'll move the chains.
Well, I think Mike Sellers has definitely got a good job in the offseason. They're going to hire him just to carry kids around. Throw kids on his back. See how many it takes to drag this man down, because the professional players can't do it. Of course, this is what he did against Saskatchewan. Comes in a scrum, loses his helmet, the feet still driving, powering, picking up an extra 10 yards.
Does it with the helmet, without the helmet, which seems to pop off a couple of times a game, and now he's the feature back. Wade Miller, the fullback, leading the way as Sellers goes to work up to the 52-yard line, and now Miller and Kelvin Kinney in each other's face masks.
Well, you know, Wade Miller, the converted linebacker, the ex-special team player, does it all. They really love this guy. I mean, he's got a heart bigger than his actual size. He's only 5'9". But he just does a nice job of getting up there, creating openings when he does get an opportunity to play. And you see the signs of frustration coming out. Kelvin Kinney taking the penalty, tacking on an extra 15 yards in that play by Mike Sellers. But this is where you really slap it to the defense, when you get the big guy like Sellers and just keep giving him the football. Just pound it in. Make a point. This is where you make a point with the O-line right here. And you got big fullbacks like Miller and Sellers carrying the football.
I think this might be 33's drive. They're going to, this time, fake to him. And Jones steps up. I don't know if Dave Ritchie wants Gary Jones carrying the ball much in the second half. And now Alfred Payton is down. And just prior to the play, when they were marching off the penalty, Payton had words for the Winnipeg bench.
He's frustrated as well. We talked a lot about him. We talked to him yesterday. He's all fired about playing Winnipeg. But you got to give the offensive line and fullbacks credit for blocking against him. They do a nice job on him. Great fake, little play action. And you can tell they want to dump it off. They want to basically throw that ball, do a little play fake, get Kahari outside, and then have him dump the ball back to Mike Sellers. But it was covered by the interior lineman of the Eskimos.
2nd and 6. Here's Sellers, and well, he couldn't squeeze it, and the turf takes a beating because Mike Sellers could have got a long way with that football.
Well, the guy that has to come over and make that play is Singer Mobley. And I think he's just as happy that that ball fell incomplete. This is the play they like to do. They just basically like to slide him out to the backfield, get him outside on the sidelines, throw him the football, and then after he catches the ball, it's what he does. It's the damage he does.
And he's a good receiver. Over 60 catches on the year. One that he should have had, and now a 47-yard Westwood field goal attempt. And Troy Westwood has been a great story here this year. A comeback season for Westwood, and he nails another.
You know, I thought it was really interesting. He talked about him. Here's a guy who was 60% last year, who after the Grey Cup game, the head coach actually came out and said, we're looking for a field goal kicker. Took a lot of heat. The biggest thing I want you to look at this. You see who's holding the football? That's Bob Cameron. Now, last year, Kahari Jones did all the holding. They felt it was a little bit difficult because he had worked with Bob for so many years. All of a sudden, they put a new guy in there with the option of having the quarterback throw the football. But I think it's also funny, as you see Milton Steele coming out, he told Bob, you're going to hold again for Troy, but don't you dare throw a pass.
Yes, that's how he lost the job in the first place. The old quarterback didn't mind throwing out of the field goal formation. Here's Terry Vaughn, and it eludes the grasp of the outstanding Eskimo receiver. And it'll be 2nd and 10. So if you're an Edmonton Eskimo fan, how concerned are you with the Western Final 2 weeks away?
Well, I'd be concerned. I think there's some work they definitely got to do. I mean, they talked about the fact that last week they were worried about Avery fumbling 3 times. They thought they had to correct it. Down by the goal line, the ball comes loose again. He's already admitted he doesn't like the cold weather. Hey, he's got to play in the cold weather in Edmonton in the final. Better get used to it.
Here's Ray, and he's got Scott Robinson in the Winnipeg territory at the 50-yard line. The 4th completion for Ricky Ray, and the biggest one to one of the reserve receivers.
But I think, Chris, there is one element we haven't really talked about in Edmonton, and that is they're missing a guy that I really think is a jump starter for that offense, and that's Jason Tucker. He's a big play receiver for this team. They definitely do miss him, and I think when you get a guy like him and you complement him with Terry Vaughn and Ed Hervey, it opens up a little bit more space for your running game.
Now Ray, left side, and Robinson holds on, punished by Milo Lewis. And they'll do some jive. And we'll take a timeout at the end of the third quarter in Winnipeg. To the fourth quarter in the final game of the regular season for these two teams. Winnipeg with a 20-point lead. Milt Stiegel watching in street clothes at the Winnipeg bench, knocked out in the second quarter. Apparently,
I believe the man beside him there, I didn't know he even left the game. Looks like Tom Europe. Was that Tom Europe?
Tell us the hit you're on.
Oh, Tom Europe's on the field. Okay.
Oh, he's okay. I didn't think so, but
I didn't think we missed that either.
2nd and 10 for the Eskimos. Blitz being shown. Europe was coming, but they get it out to Rick Walters. And Walters driven back. Weren't sure earlier in the week if Rick Walters was going to be in the lineup this week after that enormous hit by Ray Jacobs a week ago. Here's Tommy Europe.
Now, Tommy Europe back there having an outstanding season at the safety position. Talked to him yesterday. Very happy with the way he's been playing. Wanted to know if there's an opportunity. He said, listen, he said, are there any openings on the Warrior list this year? And I thought that was
so he's about the 50th guy who has campaigned in the last few weeks. It's an elite group. And I'm sure Europe will get some consideration.
Most definitely.
Fleming angling this punt. That's a beauty. Into the corner where Roberts had to field it at the 1. And he's taken down at the 5. As we check the numbers through 3 quarters.
If we look at the numbers, first downs even. Obviously the big one here is the turnovers. These are drive killers right here for Edmonton. Obviously 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions. The fumble by Avery when they could have scored a touchdown. The strip ball where Jason Moss lost the handle. Wayne Weathers with a touchdown. These are opportunities squandered. Otherwise, I mean, the game is very relatively being even. It's just a case right now, I think, of mistakes by the Eskimo offense.
10 points off turnovers, 20-point lead for the Bombers. Backed up here as they start at their own 6. Roberts back in the game, and he has close to 5.
Nice job again, Chris. Just a basically off tackle. When you got a guy with this kind of explosiveness and the change of direction, you basically aim him to the right. If there's no hole, he'll cut back. But Dave Mudge and Eric Wilson do a nice job again of getting on the point of attack. Now that's Alfred Payton, and he's been very, very quiet today. And when a defensive lineman who just has won his 5th Defensive Player of the Week is quiet, the guys playing against him are doing a pretty good job.
2nd and 6. They fake to Roberts. Jones back to Roberts. Harry Jones took a hit, and Charles Roberts dancing across the 20 to the 25. Put that on a highlight film as he does it again.
Well, you talk, you call him quick, you call him blink. I think you got to start calling the wizard, because I don't know how he got out of this hole right here. I mean, little play action, dump pass. Now it's covered. They got him squeezed in. Look at that. 1 break. Makes 1 tackle miss, 2, 3. Nice little spin move out there. Shining Garrett finally brings him out. Harry Jones basically delicately hit by Kelvin Kinney.
So a first down. They think to Sellers. They go to Bruce. Well, and Bruce with Shannon Garrett hanging on. Once once again, Curry. Jones met in the backfield, took a hit from Terry Ray, but he's hanging in there in this fourth quarter.
He's a tough guy. He's as tough as they come. 46 touchdowns. He's looking for 2 more. There you see the blitzing linebacker, Terry Ray. As a coach, though, I don't think you want to see your quarterback peeling himself off the turf this much this late in the football game.
9 yards for Arlen Bruce. He's over 100 on the day, over 1,000 on the season. Jones changed the play call, gives it to Sellers, and he is stopped short to the first down.
Well, Terry Ray, who came on that middle linebacker blitz last time, and Pop Kahari Jones does a nice job of knifing in, beating the blocking of the offensive lineman, comes back there, and if you're going to stop the big man, don't let him get going. They don't let Mike Sellers get up ahead of steam, and they take him down at the wheels. You got to dislodge the locomotive. You got to take him off at the wheels.
Derailed there for a loss of 1. 3rd and close to 3. So Cameron has to check in to punt the ball away. October at his 38. Beats the first surge and nailed at the 45-yard line. Late flag, and we'll sort that out when we come back. Bombers pitching a shutout in the fourth quarter. Been all Bombers so far this afternoon. Edmonton, though, has the football at the Winnipeg 50. A roughing penalty tacked on to the punt return. Ricky Ray trying to get Edmonton on the scoreboard. And now he calls an audible at the line. And the Bombers showing blitz. John Avery with a chance to make them pay for it. And he has a first down run. Harold Nash brought him down.
The whole philosophy of that audible, as he said, you're going to put that many guys on the line of scrimmage. We're going to try and break the line of scrimmage with John Avery. He does just that. We've got everybody up across this line of scrimmage now. Now as they run the play, all you need to do is get one guy, and they do a nice job. The left side, Bruce Beaton, does a nice job of taking Benefield inside, allowing John Avery to get to the outside.
Big tackle by Harold Nash, preventing more damage. Avery again, left side, shakes one tackle, busts through, cuts back. John Avery, and finally brought down at the 15. Marvin Coleman with the tackle. And so Avery with back-to-back first down runs.
Well, John Avery does a nice job of getting outside the defensive end. Right. This has got to be over here. That's Benefield. His job is to stay outside to force John Avery back inside. The speed of John Avery breaks that tackle. He gets to the outside, then it becomes a foot race.
Avery the lone setback. This time they fake to Avery. Ray on a roll. Herbie, touchdown. And finally the Eskimos put it into the end zone for their first points of the day.
Well, the most positive thing they've done all day on offense, and again, it's the combination. Ricky Ray, Ed Hervey. Nice job of buying him the time to get him on that rollout to find the open man. He's just going to drag across the middle. Sees there's an opening. It's a breakdown in the coverage. There's just too much space. Ed Hervey shouldn't be that open in the end zone.
7th touchdown of the year for Hervey, just his 2nd in 8 games.
Good job, Ed.
24th touchdown pass of the season for Ray. Fleming adds the extra point. And the Eskimos have finally put points on the board here in Winnipeg. Ed Hervey's been one of the best Eskimos. 8 catches, 91 yards, and a touchdown.
Well, the biggest thing is going to bring the blitz. So they've got Clark here, they got McGregor's coming, but watch this guy here. That's Europe, and he's keying Avery. Now that's the safety. So what happens now is he goes in with the fake. He gets caught up. Now that's the free safety. That means the middle's open, and that's exactly where Ed Hervey goes to that opening. And that's a nice job of Ricky Ray recognizing that and getting the football.
Arlen Bruce, a little trouble finding the handle. across the 30-yard line. Well, the Eskimos with their first scoring drive of the game. Let's see how it happened. Largely on the legs of John Avery.
Well, I think they did 2 plays in a row. They give it to John Avery. He goes off tackle, makes something out of nothing. Little play action then. And that's what happens, Chris, when you run the football. You saw that Tom Europe came up, tried to do a little cheat on him, thought they were going to give him the ball again. Your safety's up. There's nobody back. Herbie sees it. Ricky Ray sees it. They exploit it and get a touchdown finally.
And Chris, the game not out of reach with over 9 minutes to play. As Edmonton's got within 13. Jones has to reload. And now throws it into the turf in front of Charles Roberts. Alfred Payton was sizing up a sack possibility when Jones got it away.
Well, there may be pressure, but initially that's great time by that offensive line. Good protection. I mean, you can count Steamboats back there. You got people right there. Eric Wilson doing a good job in Charbonneau. Now, you know what? You got to give credit, and the credit goes to the secondary coverage. They do a wonderful job of taking away the Winnipeg receivers.
You're right. A lot of Steamboats there before Alfred was bearing down on Kahari Jones. 2nd and 10. Great pocket protection again. And Jones up across the 40, but short of the first down. And again, a good job by the Eskimo secondary.
The Edmonton secondary takes away all the potential receivers. And Kahari Jones is looking downfield. He looks center. He looks to the left. He can't find it. He comes back to the middle. Looks off. Decides he can't do anything. But I like this. Good movement by the big man, Albert Reese, defensive tackle, 95, to tackle Kahari Jones and limit his game, not allowing him to pick up that first down.
No touchdowns for Jones today. Stuck on 46. Not a bad place to be stuck. Average punt. October. Flag. And a hurdling return by Winston October across the 50-yard line.
You know, can you feel what happens? You get a touchdown, all of a sudden something positive happens on your team. And you can just see how it spreads out to the other aspects of your football club. Both defensively, you saw Albert Reese with a nice job, the secondary coverage of the Eskimos. And now, here you got
Winnipeg 34. First down.
Miller with the penalty, but then you got Winston October hopping over tacklers. It's the extra effort.
No yards called. Moves the ball near midfield. Big day for the CIS. Playoff action last night. Regina beat Calgary 39-17. St. FX over Acadia. McGill crushing Bishops today. Concordia over Laval. Mac wins. So did the Queens Golden Gales. Another explosive day. Wayne Weathers with a stop. And here tomorrow, Manitoba and Saskatchewan, a Can West semifinal right here at Canad Inns Stadium.
I noticed you getting a little excited as you read that Queens score.
Extra there. Well, only because Dan McKinnon, a coach for the Eskimos, has his son on that team. And, well, I like him because I went to Queens too.
I was going to say. You know, if I would never have known you, I might have thought that.
2nd and close to 10. Sidearms and a big hit there. Lamar McGriggs on Scott Robinson, who has his 3rd catch, but this will be short of a first down.
Well, you got to like one thing about this Winnipeg defense is they're so tough. You may beat them once, but they're going to come back. And you can see one of the interesting things they're doing is Denny Fortney, number 90, defensive tackle, drops into pass coverage from the middle of that line. Another interesting concept, take away something over the middle. But it's a gamble. You take a chance on that. If they have a play running at that, you know, or delayed draw, you're calling your pants down.
Fleming. And this one kicks through the end zone or to the back of the end zone. And a single point will be conceded on the play. Jamie Stoddard puts the knee down. And it's now a 12-point Winnipeg lead. Now we're looking forward to playoff action the following day, as the BC Lions will pay a visit to Winnipeg. And And Charles Roberts nailed in the backfield. And Terry Ray has had quite a second half defensively for Edmonton.
He's had a couple series like this, and he keeps coming on the blitz. Nobody picks him up. He's in the backfield just as Charles Roberts gets the football. He gets the ball, and there's 28. Bam! Right there.
Wow. Well, Chris, I did want to make mention, BC last night, they seem to be galvanized by Jamie Terrace, Sean Millington, last game for them at home. Remember 2 years ago? They seem to use the Louis Pasaglia retirement as a rallying cry, and makes you wonder. Lions look like they're ready to do some damage. Jamie Stoddard, who was tutored by a former Eskimo great, Tom Wilkinson, at the University of Alberta, with a catch for Winnipeg.
Well, Stoddard, nice job filling in for Milsteagle, just coming across the middle. Nice job of concentrating, looking the ball in, paying for the price after he catches it. And there's Kahari Jones, and once more, not Terry Ray this time, it's his partner. Sierra Mobley delivers the blow to Kahari Jones.
First down, Charles Roberts. 7 more for Roberts. Blue Bombers over 100 yards rushing on the day. They are 7-1 on the season when they have been able to do that.
Well, here's Charles Roberts, his days. Obviously opening drive with a touchdown, breaking it off tackle, doing the things he does so well in the open field. And of course, that little screen pass where he made so many people miss, spinning out of trouble, breaking tackles. It's been a good day for number 1.
74 yards on the ground for Roberts. And now Sellers goes to work, and he'll pound it forward for the first down. He needed 3, and he gets 5. Clock running, 4:20 remaining.
He is such a horse. I mean, it's hard to believe him. Guy at 6'3", 260 pounds. Such a good athlete. And, just has it. You can just see every time. And, he's the kind of guy who doesn't get to carry the ball a whole lot. Last week, 13 carries, 75 yards. But if he carries it 13 or he carries it 5, he's just always so happy.
At this point in the game, the Sellers number gets called more. Roberts this time, and he is upended. Albert Reese got a piece of the diminutive running back. But your thoughts on BC coming in here for next week?
Well, you know what? The interesting thing, I watched them last night. I thought their defense once again rose to the occasion. Strong performance by the linebacking crew, the BC Lions. Barron Simpson, whale of a game. Carl Kidd all over the field again, even though he dropped that sure interception. But I think there's some question marks, if there are question marks, about the Lions offense.
2nd and 11. Jones tried to swing it out, but Kelvin Powell must have been in the huddle because he was standing beside Big Mike Sellers, and the pass falls incomplete.
Well, I'm going to go back to my thoughts on BC since you got me intrigued by it. I tell you one of the things that I'm interested in. Now, one of the things I never count out. I look at a Lions offense, and yeah, they may be struggling. Maybe some things are not firing out. But anytime, in my opinion, when you got a Damon Allen back there, his ability to come through in the playoffs in big games is remarkable. You know the run he put together the last 2 times. You can see Powell have a little chat with Richie. Well, Damon Allen didn't throw an interception in the postseason.
Winston October. And he takes a huge hit. Dave Donaldson and Milo Lewis stoke the fans here at Canad Inns Stadium. 3-minute warning here in Winnipeg. Now the Walby fan club is here at the stadium today.
Well, you take a look at what it is. It says they've got MILT. They're basically Milsteagle fans. I don't think you see Milt doing that.
I haven't seen Milt since he took a hard hit in the second quarter. Ricky Ray, well, he got it away. Now, was he over the line of scrimmage? Apparently not. Managed to avoid the sack, but it will be 2nd and 10. Anoki Brechterfield was one of many Bombers turning the heat up.
Once again, a twist, and that's what they've been doing all day, is Denny Fortney comes into the game with 7 quarterback sacks after having no sacks the entire last year. Obviously, their Defensive Player of the Year nominee. Outstanding campaign.
2nd and 10 for Ray. That ball knocked down, and that was Fortney. You talked about him dropping into coverage before, and this time he nearly came up with an interception.
Well, you gotta like this. I really like this because what it does is it gives offensive coordinators a nightmare. Something else they gotta, scheme against. And you see number 90, Denny Fortney, just drops. So he's right there. All he's going to do is just drop out. Take a step, drop back now. Now he becomes a linebacker. All he's responsible for is the shallow over the line of scrimmage pass. 5 yards and in. Does a nice job of getting the pop. I'm sure he'd love to come up with an interception. But another thing, just another defensive wrinkle.
Flag down as Fleming kicks it away. Marlon Bruce, another flag. Bruce will try and get outside. Mobley won't let him by. Campbell was telling us yesterday Mobley hasn't missed a punt or kick coverage down in 2 years, and he held Bruce to a short gain there.
Well, that's amazing to think about. Punt cover, kickoff cover, and then you've got a regular stint on defense.
They'll sort out a couple of flags, but it's been a worrisome day for the Eskimos. They get 2 weeks off.
Unnecessary roughness. Edmonton 99. No yards. Edmonton 31. First down.
Sheldon Benoit called for the roughing, and they'll march the ball into Edmonton territory. This I find hard to believe, Chris, but the Edmonton Eskimos have lost their last 5 Western Finals at home. And now they will host another with a chance to be the home team in the Grey Cup.
They're talking about this curse that out of the last 15 times that the host team played the Western Final, only 3 times has there been a victor, or the home team being victorious. They don't believe in it, but I tell you what, I can honestly say right now they're going to have to play a whole lot better than they have today if they want to get rid of that mark.
No doubt plenty of work to be done. 30 yards marched off those 2 penalties. And now Mike Sellers stood up, and this time driven back by a wave of Eskimos. Steve Charbonneau has been one of the better Eskimo defenders today.
Well, they do a nice job. Now, this is the way you stop Mike Sellers. You have to get him at the point of contact. You cannot let the big man get up ahead of steam. But a nice job of meeting him right in the hole. But you see where his helmet was? Right between the numbers. They got to be there. You cannot take a shoulder on Mike Sellers or he'll blow right by you.
So it's 2nd down and 7. Sellers again off the left side, down to the 5, fumbles the football. Well, the Eskimos get on it. Malcolm Frank comes up with it, and Sellers this time fumbling the football deep.
Well, what might have been a remarkable run by the big man Mike Sellers turns into another opportunity for the Edmonton offense because he had a head of steam up. He gets outside. We talked about you got to have contact quickly on him. He's just pushing blockers off. And I think as he pushes off, the ball comes loose. Malcolm Frank with the big recovery.
Frank with the strip, too, I believe. See if number 10 picks his pocket right there.
Good eyes, Chris. He absolutely from the left side. Puts the left paw in there, rips the ball out. Malcolm Frank doing the job in the secondary, covering some of the best receivers in the CFL this year, doing a great job of that. Also creating turnovers.
That'll fatten the stats as 2nd forced fumble and 3rd fumble recovery on the year. Ricky Ray, Terry Vaughn, 3rd catch, up to the 10, short of the 1st down. Well, there's no question the Eskimos have some work to do with their 15 days to prepare for the West Final. But again, these are tough games to really formulate, firm conclusions conclusions.
And there's an interesting concept we haven't really talked about. The fact that you play two quarterbacks, two different presences in the huddle. Some people will react better to certain people in the huddle. You have the take charge guys like we used to have, Matt Dunnigan, guys that, and then we had the quiet guys like Tommy Clements, who just basically let you go and then call what he wanted to call. But you wonder how the players are reacting to the both quarterbacks here with Ricky Ray and Jason Moss.
Ronald Williams, the ball carrier, close to a first down. Jason Moss the first half. Ray got the second. The numbers similar. Ray did generate the touchdown. And now 3rd and 1 from deep in Edmonton territory. And Ronald Williams plunging ahead. Final minute here in Winnipeg, and it is a first down for the Eskimos.
Well, I know they don't want to go on a limb. They're not going to release who they think will be the starting quarterback in the Western Final. To hazard a guess, I got to think it's going to be this man right here, Ricky Ray, just for the numbers and the way he responds when coming off the bench or when he's starting football games. It's a decision-making process, but it's more the results that he gets when he's on the football field.
Results not dramatically different today. Ray had the ball jarred loose, gets it again. Weathers trying to pull him down, and does. And 99 has been terrific all day long.
Well, Dave Ritchie said you're looking at a future star in the CFL. 2 fumble recoveries today, 1 for a touchdown. There's a quarterback sack. He's been everywhere. He plays special teams. He's got good speed, gets the paw in the back, drags him down by the back of the collar.
And when he was playing high school football in Oshawa, they were chasing him. Believe it or not, he was the quarterback. Probably wasn't 6'4", 235 in high school. Well, they're backed up inside the 5. It's 2nd and 19. Time winding down. And Ronald Williams out of the backfield. Milo Lewis trips him up. And you wanted to mention that Lewis has been another key addition to the Bombers defense that's basically the same as last year's Grey Cup finalist team. But
I mean, you talked about Ricky Bell, and he's had a good game today. You talk about Milo Lewis. Milo Lewis with his 5th start, first-year player, who Les Brown thinks might be the best first-year secondary guy in the league right now. He says, you know what? The thing that's benefited him, he's had to work against Milt Stegall every practice. He says, I get burned so often in practice, I'm not even scared about going in the games.
Sean Fleming the punt as the time winds down, and this, in all likelihood, will be the final play of the game. And he will put a knee down to run out the clock. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers post an 8-1 home record, their 12th victory of the year. And the Edmonton Eskimos will finish 13-5 and regroup for a Western Final in 15 days. Will it be against these Bombers who look so good today, or the BC Lions who were impressive in their final game at home last night? As the final score, 20-8 Winnipeg. Let's join Brenda.
Well, Kahari Jones, as you know, the road to the Grey Cup goes through Edmonton. Your team made a huge statement today.
We played well today, especially defensively. You know, every time they got close to our end zone, they found a way to stop them, and that was great. Offense was a little hit and miss today, but we'll take it. You know, it's a good win at home, and it's a good way to go into the playoffs.
The Edmonton defense was coming after you today, that's for sure.
Yeah, they played a pretty good game. You know, I felt like we had our opportunities to put some more points on the board, but we were just off here or there, but they played well. So it was a good game defensively, both sides, and we're glad to have the points that we did.
Well, momentum is certainly one of the intangibles in sport, and you have it heading into your semifinal next week.
Yeah, we're just playing good football, and that's the thing that we want to do in this game. Even though people were saying it didn't mean anything, it meant something to us, and it meant that we want to keep on with that winning tradition that we've had in this past month and a half.
Okay, your thoughts now on facing the Lions next weekend?
It'll be a good matchup. I mean, I thought they played really well defensively last game, and so it's time to just go out there and play some football and see what happens.
Thanks, Kahari. Good luck next week.
Thank you.
Well, Wayne Weathers had, what can we say about the game you had today? Describe it for us.
I think it was a great team effort, and all the plays I ended up making, everybody else in our defense forced the plays. We got the fumble, Clark hit him, I recovered it. Doug Brown hit the quarterback, I recovered it in the end zone. Clark hit the quarterback again, he fumbled. He picked it up again, and I got the sack. So what can I say? That's a team effort.
How did you feel after that?
I felt great. You know, I mean, I want to end the season like that. Last year we lost to Calgary in the last game of the season. We ended up losing the Grey Cup. There's nothing stopping us now. We got to go all the way.
Your thoughts on playing the Lions next week here?
Hey, we got to be ready for these guys. We want to make it to the Cup, and there's nothing going to stop us. So whoever's in our way, we got to run over them.
You know what I liked about watching your team today is the emotion that you guys played with.
Yeah, we got to play with emotion, but we got to keep a level head and make sure we execute our plays and just win.
Have fun next week.
Thank you.
So the Winnipeg Blue Bombers win the final game of the regular season, an important psychological win over the Edmonton Eskimos as both teams now get set for the playoffs.